Before we get in today's video, welcome to the channel of King Tutankhamun. We upload the most incredible videos, giving you a trip through mysteries, discoveries, mythology, and topics that will definitely amaze you. We ask the biggest and craziest questions only King Tutankhamun can answer. If it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get notified the next time we upload. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Atlantis is known to most people as a legend or myth, written by the Greek poet Plato. But is it possible that this lost continent really existed? Is it all legend, or could there be some fact to it? Contrary to common belief, there have actually been numerous geological and historical findings that actually give some proof to the existence of this lost city. About 6,000 years ago, mankind experiences for the first time what true extinction means. The story of Atlantis, predominantly being a horror story, is about man's primal fear of being buried alive. Atlantis has engaged mankind to look for it from its inception between 423 and 428 BC, conceived by the Greek philosopher Plato. There is an amazing amount of controversy surrounding this one story. The lost city has mystified historians for decades and has subsequently created a lot of opposing views. Because of this, there has been no definitive answer, which begs the question, why would people still believe in something after so long? The lost city of Atlantis is and always has been a mystery for mystery's sake, the very definition of a legend. But what really happened to this lost city? Plato told the story of Atlantis around 360 BC. The founders of Atlantis, he said, were half god and half human. They created a utopian civilization and became a great naval power. Plato, through the character Critias in his dialogues, describes Atlantis as an island larger than Libya and Asia Minor put together, located in the Atlantic just beyond the Pillars of Hercules, generally assumed to mean the Strait of Gibraltar. The capital city, according to Plato's descriptions, was built on a hill and was surrounded by several rings of water. All the rings were joined by tunnels that made it possible for ships to sail through them. All of the outer rings were connected to the ocean with a huge canal. Outside of the capital city, there were huge fields designed for farmers to grow food for the city's population. Past the fields, the wealthy villagers lived up in the mountains. The homes of the wealthy villagers looked amazing, enriched with fountains, stone walls, and precious metals covering the walls. In his works, Plato mentions that Atlantis was actually ruled by Poseidon, the sea god in ancient Greece. Poseidon was given ruling over Atlantis, and the sea god used the city to show his appreciation for his wife. He built a large home for his mortal wife on the hill and in the middle of the island. According to Plato, Atlanteans were great engineers, and their technology was much more advanced than in other parts of the world. This is what made Atlantis special, as it was technologically and educationally much more advanced. The palace, which Poseidon built for his wife, was surrounded by white rings of water and land. The palace was connected through tunnels that were large enough so that ships could pass through them. Wealthy villagers in Atlantis also lived in the mountains. Plato describes many spectacular buildings and fountains in Atlantis, not just the palace that Poseidon has built for his wife. Poseidon's wife had 10 sons, 5 sets of twins. Each son was given one part of Atlantis to rule, and it worked for generations. Atlantis was a peaceful place, a truly utopian society where wisdom prevailed. Its culture was advanced, and it had a constitution suspiciously similar to the one outlined in Plato's Republic. It was protected by the god Poseidon, who made his son Atlas king and namesake of the island and the ocean that surrounded it. As the Atlanteans grew more powerful, their ethics declined. Their armies eventually conquered Africa as far as Egypt and Europe as far as Tyrrhenia, which is now Etruscan Italy. Because of this tyranny and plunder, Atlantis was punished and sunk by the gods for its arrogance. The superiority of the Atlantic Empire was nothing compared to that of the gods. The legend of Atlantis ends with the wrath of Zeus. Apparently, the citizens of the city became greedy, corrupt, and they let their emotions get the best of them. Zeus summoned all the gods and decided to teach Atlantis a lesson. So how can a world empire disappear without a trace? Day X must have felt like hell on Earth. The quake destroys houses, temples, and palaces. Debris rain down from the heavens, burying fleeing inhabitants underneath. But the violent earthquake is only the harbinger of the true doom. A mighty flood that buries the world empire of Atlantis and its inhabitants under water, mud, and stone. Armageddon is so devastating that the port city is not only erased from the face of the earth, but is also etched as a memorial in the collective memory of early mankind. For the extent of this primeval catastrophe must have been felt in every corner of the then known world. It is not without reason that so many peoples and religions report independently of each other of the enormous wrath of their gods and an all-destroying flood. Or is that how the story goes? How did this city really get destroyed? Or did it even exist? There are several modern theories that try to explain the existence and location of the mythical and utopian city. The city of Atlantis and the term utopia that Plato used had a huge impact on the work of Thomas More, who wrote his own book called Utopia. More lived in the 16th century, and he was inspired by travelers in America. His book describes an imaginary and fictional land, which he calls the New World. Furthermore, Utopia had an impact on another writer passionate about utopian societies, Sir Francis Bacon. Bacon wrote a book called The New Atlantis, where he also describes utopian society located in the western coast of America. Ignatius Donnelly is one of the most popular authors when the subject is Atlantis. He was a firm believer in Mayanism and argued that all antique civilizations descended from the mythical city that Plato described. Donnelly saw Atlantis as a technologically sophisticated and more advanced city, and drew several parallels between the New and Old World. He is considered the father of the revival of Atlantis. He believed that Atlantis was destroyed by the Great Flood mentioned in the Bible. Inspired by Donnelly, many later writers expanded on his theories and added their own speculations as to where Atlantis may have been. One of these writers was Charles Berlitz, grandson of the founder of the well-known language schools and author of many books on the paranormal phenomena. In the 1970s, Berlitz claimed Atlantis was a real continent located off the Bahamas that had fallen victim to the notorious Bermuda Triangle, a region of the Atlantic where a number of ships had supposedly disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Supporters of this theory point to the discovery of what look like man-made walls and streets found off the coast of Bimini, although scientists have evaluated these structures and found them to be natural beach rock formations. Or the fact that it had been theorized that Atlantis was Antarctica, based on the work of Charles Hapgood, whose 1958 book Earth's Shifting Crust featured a foreword by Albert Einstein. According to Hapgood, around 12,000 years ago, the Earth's crust shifted, displacing the continent that became Antarctica from a location much further north than it is today. This more temperate continent was home to an advanced civilization, but the sudden shift to its current frigid location doomed the civilization's inhabitants, the Atlanteans, and their magnificent city was buried under layers of ice. Hapgood's theories surfaced before the scientific world gained a full understanding of plate tectonics, which largely relegated his shifting crust idea to the fringes of Atlantean beliefs. Or maybe the most plausible theory, for the sake of our minds, Atlantis didn't exist at all. Plato invented it. Most historians and scientists throughout history have come to the conclusion that Plato's account of the lost kingdom of Atlantis was fictional. According to this argument, the Greek philosopher invented Atlantis as his vision of an ideal civilization and intended the story of its demise to be a cautionary tale of the gods punishing human hubris. No written records of Atlantis exist outside of Plato's dialogues, including in any of the numerous other texts that survive from ancient Greece. This still doesn't hinder the fact that the exact location of the city has been a topic for many researchers, archaeologists, historians, and geographers. Many have tried to find it, and still question its existence and location. The locations for Atlantis vary from the Andes Mountains in Bolivia, South America to Florida, Central America to China, and even Africa. Here are some of the possible theories about the location of the lost utopian city. The Mediterranean Sea is one of the most common locations for geographers. Since Plato lived in ancient Greece, a time when the Mediterranean was commonplace for traveling, some of the locations that have been mentioned as possible locations in the sea include the islands Crete, Sardinia, Sicily, Santorini, Cyprus, and Malta. Also, land-based cities as Troy and Tantalus have been mentioned as locations. The land-based cities are also near the Mediterranean Sea. The second common location is the Atlantic Ocean. This theory is backed up by research done by Professor Richard Friund. In 2011, he and his team claimed to have found proof of existence in the Atlantic Sea, on a location close to Andalusia. The team working on a documentary for National Geographic Channel believed that the city had been destroyed by a tsunami. On the other hand, many Spanish scientists have dismissed this theory, claiming that Friund is speculating and trying to sensationalize the work. Another theory by German researcher Rainer Kunny places Atlantis in close location. He believed that Atlantis is located north of Cadiz, a city in Spain. The Atlantic Ocean is a popular choice for speculation due to the name it bears, since many believe Atlantis comes from the Atlantic Ocean. The Canary Islands have also been proposed as a possible location. The Caribbean is another location that many point to when asked where Atlantis is located. Specifically, the alleged Cuban sunken city is actually Atlantis. As for South America, many scientists confirm the fact that the continent has many similarities to the description of the city that Plato uses in his work. Specifically, Bolivia is a country mentioned by many in the region of the Andes. Indeed, these places are hot candidates. Islands with ruins of highly developed civilizations that disappeared as a result of natural disasters thousands of years ago. However, none of these places has yet to be able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that a great city once laid there. But now, someone is taking a new attempt to find Atlantis, and this time, it is not a conventional explorer. James Cameron is the best-known director of the Hollywood blockbusters like Titanic and Avatar. The three-time Oscar winner has a second passion in addition to this film. In his spare time, the 66-year-old likes to be a discoverer. A few years ago, he already dove down to the wreck of the Titanic, only he wants to find Atlantis. To do this, he sent his friend, the documentary filmmaker Simcha Jakobovic, with a camera team to the south coast of Spain, to the Coto de Nana National Park, one of the largest wetlands in Europe. Already 100 years ago, archaeologists claim that in the marshland, once there was a port city, Tartessos. Is Atlantis behind it? Cameron's team searches for more traces off the coast of Denana, and finds them. Divers came across 6 Bronze Age anchors, which not only corresponds to Plato's description of a landing place off the Strait of Gibraltar, but also proves that large boats were trading on the Atlantic Ocean thousands of years earlier than previously thought. A sensational discovery. But it is not enough for Cameron. You have found an anchorage and evidence that Atlantis lies under the mud of Denana, praises the filmmaker. Now we must prove it, find the city, and dig it up. The problem is that here all conventional archaeological methods fail, because what the swamp has swallowed up, it won't release again very quickly. If the gods want to make a world empire disappear, there is no better method than to bury it under mud. At the end of the day, every story comes full circle, and with everything that we know, the thought still remains. Was the lost city of Atlantis really a mystery for mystery's sake? Note, the kingdom of heaven is within you, and whoever shall know himself shall find it. And with that being said, we have come to the end of the video. Comment down below your thoughts. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more awesome videos like this one. This has been your King Tutankhamun. Thank you for watching.